Once upon a time, deep within a village nestled between rolling hills and a dense forest, there lived a reckless boy named Kai. Now, Kai wasn't your ordinary boy. He was known for his adventurous spirit and his stubborn will. It was said that the forest was filled with dangers, both real and imagined, with gnarled trees and thorny bushes that seemed to reach out like grasping claws. But most terrifying of all was the legend of the forest monster, a creature so fearsome it sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest adults. According to the tales, the monster was huge, covered in thick, dark fur, and beneath that tree sat an old woman stirring a bubbling cauldron. But then, mustering all his courage, he decided to approach the woman and introduce himself. "Hello," he called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. "My name is Kai. May I ask what brings you to this forest?" She was hunched over, her face obscured by the hood of her cloak, and she didn't seem to acknowledge Kai's presence at all. "It's not a creature you can defeat with brute force. It's a spirit of nature, wild and untamable." It was wrinkled and lined, like a roadmap of years gone by, and her eyes twinkled with an otherworldly wisdom. With that, he turned to leave, eager to continue his search. "If you truly seek the monster, then listen to me." He pushed through thickets of thorny bushes, their sharp thorns tearing at his clothes and drawing blood. And there before him stood the Grove of Shadows, a cluster of ancient, twisted trees, shrouded in an unnatural darkness. The air grew colder, sending shivers down his spine, and the silence was deafening. He stumbled over fallen logs and pushed aside vines that threatened to trip him up. The moment he did, the shadows seemed to reach out and envelop him like a shroud. Fear threatened to overwhelm him, but he pushed it down, determined to conquer his fears. That's when he heard a soft voice. "Well, well, what do we have here?" A lost and frightened boy. "How did you find me?" he asked, his voice trembling. He walked deeper into the grove, his senses on high alert, listening for any sign of the forest monster. All the while, the forest seemed to grow darker and more menacing. "Are you ready to learn your lesson, Kai?" "Yes," he whispered, ashamed but determined to make amends. "What must I do?" At the heart of the forest, where the sun's light cannot reach, lies the Grove of Shadows. He had defied the warnings of the wise old woman and gotten lost in the forest. From its branches, they could see the entire grove bathed in the soft glow of the rising moon. "It's all right, child. We all learn our lessons in different ways. The important thing is that you're safe now." "I was wrong," he admitted. "The monster isn't a creature, it's the forest itself, and I disrespected its power and beauty. Remember, Kai, the forest is a place of wonder and wisdom. It's a teacher as well as a protector. And sometimes the greatest monsters are the ones we create in our own minds. Do you see now?" she asked softly. Now darkness had fallen, and the Grove of Shadows seemed even more menacing. As he rejoined his village, he knew he was a changed boy. He shared his experiences with the villagers, helping them understand the true spirit of the forest. From that day on, the villagers respected the forest, recognizing its importance in maintaining the balance of nature. And Kai, once the reckless boy who dared the forbidden forest, became known as the protector of the woods. His story a reminder that sometimes the greatest adventures lead to the most valuable lessons. Startled, he whirled around, only to see a small, frightened rabbit darting away into the underbrush. With renewed urgency, he raced through the grove, pushing past the gnarled trees and stumbling over the uneven terrain. But the more he ran, the more the trees seemed to shift and change, making it impossible to find the exit. Kai realized then that the forest monster wasn't a malevolent creature, but a figment of his imagination and the villagers' fears. "I'm not afraid," he declared, puffing out his chest. Despite the danger she had hinted at, Kai felt a surge of excitement. He realized that the true challenge lay not in finding the forest monster, but in conquering his own fears and proving his bravery. So with renewed determination, he thanked the old woman for her guidance and set off towards the Grove of Shadows. "I've come to see the forest monster. I want to prove my bravery and tell the villagers that it's just a legend." "You shouldn't be here, child," she said, her voice raspy and low, like the rustling of dry leaves. "This is no place for one so young and reckless," and had eyes that glowed red in the dark, preying on anyone who dared to venture into its domain. And no one, absolutely no one, could ever convince him to follow traditions or heed any warnings. One day, fueled by a mixture of youthful arrogance and disregard for his elders, he decided to defy the age-old tradition and ventured into the forbidden forest. As he stepped into the shadowy embrace of the woods, the atmosphere instantly changed. The air grew heavy and still. The chirping of birds was replaced by an eerie silence, and the shadows around him seemed to writhe and twist like living things. One such tradition in their village was to never ever enter the forbidden forest. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the path grew unclear, and the trees began to close in around him, their branches forming a maze-like barrier. Just when he thought he couldn't possibly go any further, he came across a small clearing. Despite these chilling stories, Kai's curiosity got the better of him. Determined to prove his bravery, Kai pressed on. He walked past ancient trees so thick and tall they formed a canopy overhead, blocking out the sun and muffling any sound. In the middle of the clearing stood an old, gnarled tree with roots that spread out like the limbs of a skeleton. Startled by this unexpected encounter, Kai hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do next. The woman stirred at the sound of his voice and slowly turned to face him. When Kai saw her face, he gasped. Kai, however, was not one to be intimidated. The woman sighed, shaking her head slowly. "You misunderstand," she said. "The forest itself is the monster." Ignoring her warning, Kai continued, "But I won't be scared. I'll find the monster and face it." The old woman called out to him, "Wait, child." With those words, the old woman fell silent, leaving Kai to ponder her cryptic message. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long, eerie shadows through the trees, Kai quickened his pace. Just when he thought he couldn't go any further, he emerged into another clearing. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, Kai stepped into the grove, but as minutes turned into hours, it became clear that he hadn't been attacked. As he turned to leave, regret and shame washed over him. Just when his hope began to dwindle, he remembered the old woman's words about returning before sunset. Suddenly, he tripped over a tree root and fell to the ground, scraping his hands and knees. Tears of frustration welled up in his eyes. Kai looked up to see the old woman standing over him, a knowing smile on her lips. "The forest always finds a way to teach those who listen," she replied, extending a hand to help him up. Kai hesitated for a moment, torn between his pride and his fear. But in that moment of vulnerability, he realized the error of his ways. The old woman led him to a nearby tree and helped him climb it. Kai nodded slowly, understanding dawning on him. The old woman smiled, her eyes twinkling. With the first rays of sunlight filtering through the trees, Kai and the old woman left the grove of shadows. When they reached the edge of the forest, the old woman turned to him. And with that, she vanished, leaving Kai to ponder her final words.